What is the most egregious crime you can commit in Magic the Gathering?
I was about to say arson, but then you said Magic the Gathering.
Also
not the most egregious. I just really like arson, personally.
That's fair.
Are we not going to count just countering your commander?
Oh, there's worse things than that.
Gaining control of a creature they control.
You can get worse than that.
Starting a second game with an ante. Ooh. Is that up there?
That one's banned, so I guess it does count. No, the answer I was looking for, Logan, is land destruction.
Oh yeah, that's pretty.
Land destruction sucks. Nobody thinks about it because it never happens, but we are gonna make it happen in Pioneer. You ready?
Okay.
Let's do it. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Jankyard. I'm Isaac.
I'm Logan.
And we are doing the worst thing imaginable, as you could tell from 5 seconds ago before the intro rolled. We are doing land destruction in Pioneer. Now I got this originally from a Reddit thread. They were talking about this idea, and I decided to look into it, find some decks that ran it, make my own thing, and go with it. You ready, Logan?
I don't think I am.
Our main ways of destroying lands are 4 copies of Demolition Field, 4 copies of Field of Ruin, and 4 copies of Volatile Fault. If you look into decks that are being played in Pioneer right now at the top tables, very few of them are running basic lands. So, at some point, as we are destroying their mana sources, they will not have any more basic lands to go grab. So at that point, we will start destroying their lands.
So this is land destruction and the fact that we are relying on the opponent to not be playing basic lands.
Correct. And there are not very many decks that do that. There is one that's up there. Well, there's 2 that's up there. One of them is Mono White Humans. If we're up against Mono White Humans, we just have a bad game. We draw, we concede, whatever. We go on to the next one. If we have a game against Mono Green Devotion, though, we can destroy the Nykthos. We can destroy the caves that they play. We can destroy all of their main ways of getting a bunch of mana. We're going to move on to the creature slots now. Our first card is 4 copies of Magda the Horde Master.
Oh, Magda, the dwarf one?
No. It's the one from Thunder Junction. Whenever you commit a crime, you make a treasure token. Do this only once each turn.
Okay, so every time you destroy something, you get a treasure.
Every time we target their land, we get a treasure. It's fantastic. It's awesome. We are playing 4 copies of Scrawling Crawler, new to Foundations. This card is going to let our opponents draw more cards, but the cards that they draw aren't going to matter because they don't have the mana to cast them with. And then we're playing 4 copies of Krenko's Buzz Crusher.
I was waiting for Buzz Crusher to
It's
show
right
up.
there. It's right there. This one also only destroys non-basic lands, but it is still another source for us to get through that. This is the one thing that can kill Lotus Fields.
I'd like to iterate here incredibly so how much I hate this card because the reason it gets around hexproof is it doesn't use the word target.
It doesn't use the word target.
That's the only reason.
Yes, it is horrid. Moving on to another slot, we're going to play 4 copies of Cleansing Wildfire. That way we can kill their lands, get their more lands, we can draw cards. We also have a chance to destroy our own lands if we want to start drawing more cards, but the replacement effect of it drawing cards is pretty solid. We need a little bit of removal in this deck. Just a little bit, not too much. We're going to be playing 4 copies of Frostbite. In addition to this, all of our mountains that we're playing are frost-covered mountains, or snow-covered mountains. We're playing 2 copies of Torch the Tower.
Okay.
Classic removal spell. And then we're playing 2 copies of Burn Down the House. In the sideboard, we have the other 2 copies, but this is just a board wipe across the field. We're not playing a ton of removal because we don't really need to keep the field completely clear. We have a little bit of ways that we can deal with things on the battlefield, but mainly we're just going after their lands.
What? Why are we playing Burn Down the House?
Board wipe.
Wow.
And at 5 toughness, it hits just about everything in Standard, or in Pioneer right now.
So we're playing this just because it does 5 damage and not like a Storm's Wrath for 4.
Correct. Yeah, you could play Storm's Wrath in this slot. I was right there just about to put it in. I think I had it in at one point. But Burn Down the House gets to that extra point, which we really do care about.
The only thing I can think of that this matters for is this kills Sheoldred.
Yeah, which isn't seeing a ton of play right now. We need a little bit of card draw in this deck. 4 copies of Maze Mine Tome. 3 copies of Reckoner Bankbuster.
I like the Bankbuster.
Bankbuster's good. Maze Mine Tome is Bankbuster, but it's not a vehicle, and it draws you 1 more card. These 2 cards give us a new perspective on card draw. They let us change how we're thinking about card draw. It lets us really just focus on just getting that little bit of extra card draw, and it really is that tempo thing that we're kind of looking for with this deck. And then our last slot, we got 6 cards left. I'm playing some cards that, pulling from the back of my mind, I've wanted to play forever, and I can do that here right now. 3 copy of Haphazard Bombardment. This card was a classic in Dominaria. It came out, everyone's like, this card sucks. And then a few people were like, no, it's really, really funny.
Well, yeah, it's a funny card for
It's
sure.
hilarious. This is a way for us to remove our opponent's basic lands once we get up to the 6 mana point, which isn't totally out of the question for us.
This is a 6 mana. You play how many of these?
3.
That feels like a lot.
Most decks that ran this were either 4 or not at all. And I understand why, because the more counters you get on stuff, the faster you can destroy things, the more chance you have to destroy
But at
things.
6 mana, I feel like with Maze Mind Tome, you can get through the deck enough to not have to worry about playing all 4. And at 6 mana, you're going to see one earlier than you want to, for sure. I think I'd rather play 2.
Okay.
Which sounds blasphemous almost, but
The last card we have, it's another 3 copies of. It's Crucible of Worlds.
so we can blow up our own lands.
We can sack our own lands and then bring them back and keep doing that
that's
loop.
probably I forgot we were playing Field of Ruin. Okay.
Yeah, we're playing Field of Ruin, Demolition, and Volatile Vault.
that's
So you
pretty-
can. So once
fair.
you do that, you bring them back.
Okay,
Yeah, that's the whole loop. So if you have a Crucible of Worlds, a Volatile Vault, and a Magda, you Volatile Vault one of the opponent's things. Use Crucible of Worlds to get it back, and now you're back where you started, but you have 2 more treasures because of Magda and the Vault. That is the entire deck.
Yeah, that sounds like land destruction.
Yeah, it's land destruction. It's got, I mean, the land destruction that's in Pioneer right now, the best land destruction is lands themselves. The other land destruction you have is going to be way too much mana and not get you enough bang for your buck.
don't you play 4 copies of Demolish?
So there's definitely a lot of other land destruction you could be playing, but it's not very easily recursive as this is. You have a Crucible of Worlds, you have your Demolition Field, you're good to go. You just keep looping that around.
I've always wondered if land destruction was good in Pioneer. It's not, but
This is fun.
incredibly annoying.
I think
which is the point of it.
Yeah, I think this list is incredibly anti-meta right now, just because of how many lists are running 800 different non-basic lands. You look at any aggro list that's 2 colors, and they're playing 4 basic lands tops.
Land destruction in general gets more interesting the further back in format you go, the more cards you have access to, because the more dual lands you have access to. If I'm playing 2-3 colors and I have access to all the duals to make it work, why would I play 1 color? I have more options than 2 colors. It's because I'm going to blow up your lands and you have nothing to play now. That's why you wouldn't do it. But no one's going to think that. Well, no one expects the land destruction. This feels like a fairly cheap list aside from the Crucibles. There's other ways to play lands from your graveyard.
Not as good as Crucible.
You'd have to play green. Like, hold on.
Yeah, and then you would get yourself out of basic lands. You would run yourself out of mountains. Okay.
Just play forests. Ramanop Excavator from Hour of Devastation is $250.
Yeah.
That's much better. But, again, it's green.
Yeah,
So.
I mean, there are also some really good green cards for land destruction. There's some pretty decent black cards for land destruction. The whole reason to keep it in 1 color, though, is so you can get your own, mountains. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We appreciate you tuning in. If you did like this deck, please let us know by a like, a comment, a subscribe, whatever you've got. Make sure that little bell's on. That bell lets you know whenever time we upload. We know our upload schedule has been a little weird recently, but there's been a lot going on. But we've got some coming down the pipeline. Don't you worry.
Probably a little busy because of Christmas and other junk. So
Exactly.
we do this as a hobby, in case you couldn't tell.
Check us out on Instagram, YouTube Shorts, and TikTok. We post regularly over there. If you see the shorts on YouTube, we also post those ones. So whichever platform you like the most, feel free to watch us on there. That's it, though. Thanks for tuning in. Have a good one.